All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Emilia, and I will be your host here today. If you would all want to just go ahead and join my Menti, you can either scan the QR code on my screen, or you can go to menti.com and then use the code 49835245. And we will officially kick off in a minute or so. But while we wait for everyone to join, I have a bit of an icebreaker for you. So if you want to share which institution you're representing here today, so we can see where everyone is joining from. Okay, we had the first answer, Griffith University, TAFE, RMIT, Charles Darwin, BKI, ISWA, Deakin. Oh, plenty of different ones. I love this. So far, RMIT being the most popular answer. Also, Bendigo TAFE, BKI. Those are the institutions where we have, La Trobe as well. Quite a few people joining from. Some University of Sydney, QUT as well. Love that. Okay, yeah, people are coming in. So everyone joining just now, if you haven't joined the Menti yet, you will be able to do so by either taking out your phone camera and scanning the QR code on my screen here on the bottom left corner, or you can go to menti.com and then use the code at the top of my screen. So if you use your mobile device, this is the QR code is probably the easiest way to join. But if you are on your laptop and prefer using that, then you can, of course, also just go to menti.com on any device and then enter the code at the top of my screen. Okay, but I do see a lot of variety here. We have people from a lot of different institutions. Really lovely to see that variety here. All right, it is almost 2 past now, so I think we can probably get started. It looks like La Trobe is now the most popular institution. Let's see, I will wait a little bit longer to see if maybe BKI or Deakin can beat that number of participants. Perfect. Okay, nice. Let's officially kick this off. So welcome everyone to Strategies for Formative Assessments. And my name is Emilia. I am Mentimeter's Customer Success Manager for Higher Education in APAC. I'm based in Sydney and work with a lot of our largest university customers. And for anyone that hasn't joined the Menti yet, please go ahead and do so now because we will be interacting through Menti throughout this session. So through Menti, you will be able to answer all of my questions, ask me questions as well. So on your devices, you will have a button that says Open Q&A, and that's what you can use if you want to ask a question at any point during today's session. You will also have the option to react to my slides. So some of you have already found those as well. So we have the heart and the thumbs up that you can use at any point during the session. And then we also have comments from audience enabled. So that's what you can use for any quick reactions if you want to say something. But for questions, use the open Q&A. Then we do also have the live storm chat. So if there are any questions that you think maybe aren't relevant for everyone or something quick you need help with, I have my colleagues Jared and Marcello there helping you with those questions. So if you want to ask me a question, submit that in the Menti through the open Q&A button. And then if you have any questions for Jared and Marcello, you can just use the live storm chat for that. Brilliant. Okay, and final thing here as well, you will get both the recording and the slides after today's session. So if there are any examples that you want to reuse, you will be able to do that through the links you get in the email after the session. Perfect. So the agenda for today's session is that we're going to first talk a little bit about why formative assessments. Then the majority of the session, we will really be focusing on how to get formative assessments right, and then also covering a couple of examples on how you can use Mentimeter in your formative assessments. And then we will also have a bit of a Q&A session at the end. But feel free to submit questions at any point during today's session, so you definitely don't need to wait until the end. Great. I also wanted to just kind of get your current comfort level with formative assessments at the moment. So this is our scales question type, where I can add a question and then a couple of statements, and then I can also pick what kind of scale I want to have. Today, I just went with the standard option from strongly disagree to strongly agree. And our three statements here are, I know why I should apply them, I know how to make them successful, and I know how to use Mentimeter for formative assessments. Okay, I would say overall, we're pretty confident with why you should be doing formative assessments. Then kind of in the middle of the scale for I know how to make them successful, and then we're lowest on I know how to use Mentimeter for formative assessments. This is great because we will obviously be covering kind of both of these. So hopefully after today's session, you will feel a bit more confident with that as well. And you can see that with the scales question type here that I'm using, this is really good for any type of feedback that you want to get and overall understanding of your participants, because here I can very easily see what is the average for all of the statements, but then I can also hover over the individual answers. So here I can see, for example, that the biggest group of participants we have actually all the way at the top of the scale, but then we also have a couple of outliers here at the beginning of the scale. So then it's good for us to still cover a little bit of that topic as well. And then I can easily see that Mentimeter is the one that we're feeling least confident with at the moment. So then that's definitely where I can put most focus in today's session. Great. So why use formative assessments to improve the teaching and learning environment? First things first, for those of you that aren't really that familiar with formative assessments really inform learning, whereas summative assessments are the ones that sum up the learning. So the goal with formative assessments is to improve learning and not just measure it. So with all the exams and things like that, what you often want to do is measure the level of learning among your students. But with formative assessments, we really want to improve that learning through being informed about the learning processes, where people are at, and then taking action based on what we see in those formative assessments. And the first benefit that I wanted to mention about formative assessments is that those really allow you to get feedback when it matters. So both as a student and as an educator, you're able to get that continuous feedback from your students and their learning processes throughout the course, and not just at the end. And as an additional benefit, doing formative assessments also really helps your students deepen their learning outcomes through metacognition, because they are really reflecting on their own learning processes. When you have to kind of think about, okay, where am I with my learning? You're much more likely to deeply remember the topics that you're thinking about, rather than if you just kind of cruise through all of the different topics in a course. And what that can look like in Mentimeter as well is like this. So here we have a simple open-ended question. And I would actually want to hear from you. What do you find challenging when creating mentees for formative assessments? It can be anything. I would just be curious to hear where you see those challenges, so that we can also then, tailor this session based on what you find challenging. Very meta, I would say. So we're kind of running a formative assessment here in the formative assessment webinar. Okay, we have a couple of answers in already. We have analyzing the data received. That's definitely very important. Workshops are often one-off, so we're trying to assess as we go. Yeah, student engagement, lack of respondents. Yeah, creating different assessments to keep students engaged. Hopefully we'll give you some new ideas here today as well. Anonymous versus identified responses. That's also something that we can talk a little bit more about today. I don't know what Menti's design is the best for the students. Great, you will definitely get some tips and tricks for that as well. Selecting the right Menti, yeah, takes so much time to create. Well, luckily we also have an AI builder now, so you can also use that to very quickly create slides if you want to. And then of course you will also get today's slides, so you can simply copy these to your own account and start using them. A lot of really cool responses. I love this. Won't probably have time to go through all of these, so let's just go ahead and look at a bit of a summary of your responses, what patterns we see. Okay, we have student engagement here, assessment selection, designing the assessments, question design, data analysis, response anonymity, time constraints. Yeah, great. Thank you for sharing all of your perspectives. I will do my best to really focus on these areas in today's session, so we can really make sure that this webinar will be as relevant as possible for you. Great. The second benefit with formative assessments is really that it's less pressure than your typical summative assessments. Your students tend to experience less pressure when, this is not a high stakes assessment where they know that it's going to have a significant impact on their grade, but rather they can just kind of relax and share what they actually know about the topic. And here we have an example on how you could also use Mentimeter to test your students' knowledge. And this right here is a simple multiple choice question. And the example that I picked is, what are perpetual bonds? And then we have a couple of different options here. Obviously, might be a tricky question if this is not your area of expertise, but that's why I've also included an option, I don't know. And that's something that I would really recommend that you do, especially when running formative assessments, because then you give your students that opportunity to share that I'm actually not an expert in this area yet. I don't really know. Otherwise, if you just kind of, make your students guess, they might guess correctly, but you haven't given them the opportunity to share that they don't know. Another thing that I've done here as well is that I've hidden the responses. So you can see on my screen here, it says that 35 out of 63 have responded. So that's something that I can do if I want to really avoid groupthink and make sure that everyone submits their own thoughts, as opposed to just kind of following after the first person to submit. And then this counter will, of course, help me decide when it is time to show the responses. So now I would say most of you have responded. So I'm actually going to show you how you voted. So here we can actually see that we have the majority of you saying, I don't know. So that then tells me as an educator, obviously, that this is something that we need to spend a little bit more time on. And then we also have a couple of people answering this one and this one, which are actually incorrect answers. So based on these answers, we could then also start a classroom discussion and really kind of cover the potential misconceptions that there are in the classroom. So if someone thought that the first option was correct, then we could discuss why that might be, what is the reasoning there, and how we can help those students also understand the correct answer here, which is indeed bonds with no maturity. Great. Then the third benefit would be just more engagement in your classes in general. So with these regular assessments, oh, okay, we also have one question here kind of in the comments. If you can add that in the Q&A, I'm happy to cover that at the end. Perfect. So with those regular assessments, your students are really actively involved in their learning processes and stay up to date with where they are at, instead of kind of just having to panic study at the end of the course right before the lecture. So you can really encourage those continuous study habits among your students as well. And here I've just added a little bit of a word cloud question. And my question to you is, in one word, what happens when students know their progress is being checked regularly? Amazing. We have engaged, engagement, upkeep, compliance, accountability, quality, motivated, fear. Okay. Yeah, stressed. Absolutely. So there are, of course, multiple sides to this. Some students might feel that it's stressful to continuously be assessed, but we do also see a lot of these positive sides, such as accountability and engagement and motivation as well. And I would say if we as educators want to make sure that we're getting more of the positive and less of the stress, really focusing on the fact that these formative assessments are for you. So we really want to help you stay up to date with what's going on in the course, rather than actually assessing you. So this is not something that is going to influence your grade, but rather we just want to make sure that everyone stays up to date with what we're talking about, so that no one has to play catch up at the end of the course. Great, but I love all the different perspectives here as well. Empowerment as well, that's a really good one. Great, but now we are ready to jump to the next part of today's webinar, which is getting formative assessments right. And I also wanted to ask you, how do you currently assess student understanding during your sessions? I know that some of you were already quite familiar with formative assessments and might be doing that already a lot, but let me know, what is your current process for this? Okay, we have Zoom polls, Q&A, think, pair, share, Menti, short quiz. Yeah, short quizzes, post sessions, body language as well, oral questions, yeah, word clouds and quizzes, questions to the audience, asking students to recap. That's a really powerful one. I like that. Listening to the answers they give. That's, of course, a good one as well. Polls, Menti or Kahoot, yeah, Menti check-in, quizzes, Q&A, polls, yeah. Okay, it sounds like we have a lot of people that are already doing quite a bit here. So yeah, today we will definitely be covering a couple of different ideas and things to be mindful of, so that you can run these formative assessments as successfully as possible. And also we have someone we haven't, that's completely fine. Hopefully after today's session, you will get some new ideas on what to think about and how to go about creating your mentees for the formative assessments as well. Thanks everyone for sharing these. So step one for creating successful formative assessments is really finding a way to know what your students are thinking. So like you mentioned, there are a couple of different ways and a couple of different features you can use. But what you really want to be mindful of is, are you getting honest answers? And then do the answers represent the entire room? I know that some of you mentioned, for example, listening to the answers that the students give. But then the question is, are you hearing just one student's perspective or a couple of students' perspective versus the class as a whole? And here I also added the tip of reducing groupthink through hiding the responses. So that's something that you can think about when you are using Menti to test your students' knowledge. Then the second step would be to think about the key concepts and then making your questions around them concise. So really thinking about what it is that I want my students to leave this lecture with, and then can I easily understand how well my students are doing. So for example, if you want to understand what percentage of your students got a certain question correct, it might be easiest for you to use a multiple choice poll as opposed to open-ended question. We will, of course, have examples around open-ended as well, but depending on what it is that you want to get out of the formative assessments, these are the couple of options that you have. And here we also have another multiple choice example. So my question to you is, which of the following is not one of the benefits of formative assessments? And you can see that even though this is also a multiple choice question, I've actually picked a different layout for this. So that's also something that you can do if you want to switch it up a little bit and yeah, make it a little bit more fun with the formatting as well. Great. And I've again hidden the responses so you can see the counter here. And that's something that you can either set up prior to a class like I've done now. So I've just hidden the responses while creating this presentation. But then you do also have the option to use our keyboard shortcut H. So at any point during a session, if you want to hide the responses, you, for example, didn't do that while creating the presentation and then realize that it would actually be really good to do that, you can always use the keyboard shortcut H. Now let's see what you answered. Okay, so there we go. So 93% of you got this one correct. So replacing the need for final exams, that's not something that formative assessments do for us. Final exams are still very important, but formative assessments do have the other three benefits. And here I have also marked a correct answer, so we can see that that is indeed the correct answer. Awesome. Step 3 in getting your formative assessments right is really finding the right frequency. So thinking about how often do I need to check my students' knowledge to really make sure that we stay up to date with the learning objectives that I have for the course. And then, like I mentioned earlier, with formative assessments, we really want to help our students learn. So what kind of frequency helps them do that? I also kind of touched on this earlier, but we do also have the Menti AI Builder. So if you are short on time or maybe just need a little bit more inspiration, you can also try that. So it will automatically create a Menti for you if you just share that you want to do a formative assessment. You can share the topic that you are going to be covering and so on. Great. And then I actually wanted to check with you. According to neuroscience, what is the average attention span in minutes? I've added a range from 1 to 30, and you can add your guess on this scale right now. And here I've used our guess the number question type, and that's something that you can use if you want to make your students estimate, for example, a number within a range. Okay, we have quite some variety here, I would say. Some people saying all the way at the bottom of the scale, kind of 1 minute, maybe 2. I would say the highest peak here around 10 minutes. But we also have some people saying 20, and I think the most optimistic people among us are answering about 22 minutes or so. But according to neuroscience, it is around 10 to 20 minutes. So that's really the amount of time that people can pay attention. So that's something that we want to be mindful of also when we are designing our lectures. So making sure that we are engaging with the participants often enough so that they have that possibility to maintain attention. Great. And then the next part that I wanted to share about formative assessments is really making sure that you have a follow-up. So when we ask these kind of questions and try to understand how well our students know the concepts, it's really important for us that we then also have the time and space to repeat something. So if we notice that, for example, now our students don't really know what perpetual bonds are, well, then we need to have enough time to cover that concept again so that those that didn't know the correct answer have the opportunity to learn that topic. And one tip regarding Menti that you can try as well is using the survey mode in Menti. So you can either give your students some homework assignments or do a quick survey regarding the topics. So before a class, you can also understand how well students know a certain topic, and then you can reiterate based on that. And then the final tip, which in my opinion is the most important one, is really creating a culture where mistakes are okay. So like we were talking about in the beginning, formative assessments are really for your students and not something that should create further pressure. We're really just trying to create a culture where it's okay to not know, and then we can take action based on these things that we uncover. So really things that you can think about here are making sure that your students understand that they are not going to be graded based on how they perform in formative assessments, but rather we just want to help them understand if there is something that they perhaps need to focus a bit more on. And then with Mentimeter, you can, of course, also conduct formative assessments anonymously. So that can also be a way for your students to feel less pressure and feel more comfortable because they know that it is anonymous and nothing that they say can be connected to them. So then is for sure that is not going to be, influencing their grades and so on. Great. But now that was a lot of theory, so it's time for a little energizer. I've added a pin on image question here. So my question to you is, how do you feel about formative assessments right now? And I've added a bit of a collage of different sheep here, so you can pick which one of them best represents your mood. Okay, I love this. I would say currently the most popular answer, very joyful, little jumping sheep. 3 people over here as well. Quite content, I would say, number 2, this one. A couple of people still kind of half hiding behind the corner, also okay. That's completely fine if you're not feeling super comfortable yet, but they will definitely, leave the session with some new ideas as well. Someone finding them maybe really fun as well, and 3 people over here. Okay, no one answering this one. That's funny. But these kind of questions, of course, something that you can use to just lighten up the room and kind of bring everyone back in if you notice that people are maybe losing focus or people are not so energized. So a fun way to either start your sessions or kind of energize the room again if you have a really long lecture. Great. And then I just wanted to, before we jump into a Q&A, I wanted to show a couple of examples from other educators as well, so you can get some real-life examples on how to use Mentimeter in formative assessments. So here, the first one, we have a word cloud question. Some of you were already using this as well. But what I really like about this example is that the educator here has also added a picture here on the word cloud slide. So then the question here actually refers to this picture here, and then you will be able to assess how your students are able to analyze that. So another question was, what kind of organism, if any, would match to pie chart A? And then you can see what the students have responded here. And with the word cloud, of course, you can see what are the most popular answers among the students, but then you can also very easily see if there are some clearly incorrect answers, for example. And then as an educator, I would then be able to talk about those and just mention, for example, why a certain answer is incorrect. Great. And then here we also have an example of the open-ended question. And here the question is, what is the difference between financial accounting and managerial accounting? And what I really like about this example is that the students have to explain the concepts in their own words. So that way you can really easily uncover potential misconceptions and see if your students are able to produce those answers themselves without having those kind of predefined options. So here, especially if you hide the responses like we talked about earlier, you can really easily see what your students' true understanding of this concept is. And then this one, kind of similar to one of the examples that we had earlier. So this is a nursing example. So you are the nurse assessing a client who is dehydrated for fluid volume deficit. Which of the following findings should you expect? So a little bit deeper as an example. So it's not enough for you to just kind of recall a simple fact, but rather you have to think about the case a little bit deeper. And then you can see that here, what do we want to say? About 1/3 of the class has actually gotten this correct. And then we have an equal number of people answering this one here. And then you would very easily be able to kind of cover this one and discuss why that one is incorrect. And then here we also have the scales question type, but this one is more of an opinion and then being able to argue for your position. So how much risk should an entrepreneur be willing to take? And then here you can see that there are also kind of different perspectives, and then you would be able to have a discussion based on that, and then kind of hear the different arguments for these two opinions. And the same scales question type. Also, if you want to be really mindful of connecting the formative assessments to learning outcomes, this is something that you can also use. So this educator here has added all the learning outcomes for the course on the scales question, and then your students are actually able to assess their learning on all of these. So then this educator would then be able to see that, for example, learning outcome 1 is the one that the class is feeling most confident with, and then 3 and 6 are those that students are maybe struggling a bit more with. And this is, of course, a great example of metacognition because your students are really reflecting on their own learning. Perfect. We are getting towards the end of today's session, and I wanted to kind of reassess your thoughts on formative assessments. So, how comfortable are you with applying formative assessments now that we have run this session? Okay, we have quite a few answers here. I would say for the first one, I know why I should apply them. 4.9, so okay, now 4.7, 4.8, quite a high in number. So really lovely to see that. So you do understand the purpose behind formative assessments. And then when we look at the other two, I know how to make them successful, and I know how to use Mentimeter for formative assessments. We have definitely increased our scores for those as well. So at the beginning, we were kind of here in the middle of the scale for the second statement, and a little bit lower even for Mentimeter statements. So really lovely to see that you have definitely left this session with some new knowledge then. And a good tip here is that we do also have a built-in feature to track changes over time. So if you, for example, want to use the example like the previous one with the learning outcomes for the course, you are also able to automatically generate a graph for how things have changed over time. So that way you can really see if you're trending in the right direction. Great. I've also wanted to add a couple of resources to help you here. And like I mentioned, you will get these slides via email right after today's session. So then no need to copy any links right now. You will be able to find these. But we have self-paced courses available on Mentimeter Academy. So if you want to take either your Mentimeter knowledge or neuroscience-based learning skills to the next level, Academy is where you will find self-paced learning on that. We also have video tutorials available on our YouTube page, and then plenty of higher education customer stories available through this link. So there you can get more examples around how other educators are using Mentimeter. We also have our help articles here. So if there was any feature that I covered kind of briefly and you want to get a step-by-step guide, this is where you will find that. And then for support, you will always be able to reach out to them either via email or using the chat function in Mentimeter. Great. And then I also wanted to just leave this here. So we will go for the Q&A very brief or very soon, sorry. And then for anyone that has joined today's session but does not have a license for Mentimeter and you would want to discuss the options or have our team reach out to you, you can leave your contact details below. So then a member of our team will reach out to you. But I'm going to leave that open while I check that one question that we have here. Amazing. Okay, we have a question. What is a survey mode? So with Mentimeter, we have two different modes for the mentees that you can run. So today we have been using the presenter option. So then with the presenter pace option, I am the person that decides when you move on to the next question. But in the settings for each mentee that you create, you have the option to switch to survey mode. And if you switch a mentee into survey mode, then your participants will be able to go through all of the questions at their own pace. So instead of having to wait for the presenter to move to the next question, every participant can do that at their own pace. So the survey mode is something that you can use either for surveys or homework, or if you want to embed any mentees in your LMS, for example. Great. And then we have another question. Can Menti be used offline, i.e. not live during a workshop lecture? So that kind of answers, I think, the previous question as well. So survey mode is what you can use if you want to not use Mentimeter live. So with the survey mode, your participants will be able to go through the questions at their own pace. Great. Oh, okay. We have one more. Are we going to receive the statement of attendance for today's session. You will get an email saying thank you for attending, and then you will get the recording and the slides. And then if you need some sort of a certificate for your institution, you can also just reach out to our support team, and they can perhaps help you out, but let us know what it is that you would need. Great. Oh, do we have one more? Oh, okay. Are there easy ways to import questions from Word/PowerPoint? So if you have questions already in Word, then you would be able to copy paste them into Mentimeter. And then I wonder, with PowerPoint, would you already have your questions in the PowerPoint or just the content? Because if you have a PowerPoint presentation where you have your presentation content and then you just want to add the Mentimeter questions in between. So for example, you have your lecture slides and then you want to add the formative assessment questions in between, you would be able to import the PowerPoint into Menti, and then you can add those Menti questions in between. Great. All right. But now we do still have a couple of minutes left. So if you have any questions still, feel free to submit those. But I would be really curious to hear what you learned in today's session, or something that you will do differently as a result of attending this session. If you have any feedback on this session, I would, of course, also appreciate that. So this here is just an open-ended question, so you can submit any of your feedback or thoughts into this question. Amazing. Okay, survey mode. That was something that was new for a couple of people. Are all these features available in the free version? All of the question types that I've covered in today's session are available in the free version. And in general, most of the things you can try out in the free version. And the main cap in the free version is the number of participants that you can have per month. So on a free version, you can definitely try out most of these things. Ways to analyze qualitative data, love that. Yeah, hiding answers, already used different formats, but learned about a few more. That's great. Use Mentimeter for formative assessment. Like to have a look at different styles of engagement tools and survey styles on Mentimeter. Yeah, great. Thanks, it was informative. Thank you for that lovely feedback. More frequent. Great session, thank you. Yeah, I'd be more inclined to use Menti exclusively instead of embedding it into PowerPoint. Yeah, absolutely. I would say so we do have a PowerPoint add-in available as well, but I would say presenting in Menti is a slightly better experience for you. Really energized sessions, love that. Great presentation, I learned a lot. Fantastic to hear. Yeah, multiple choice as a pie chart. We actually have 4 different layouts for multiple choice, so you can also explore those after the session if you want to. And the link between theory and practice was valuable. That's definitely something that I recommend for you to think about when you're creating your lectures in general as well. So connecting the theory to people's practical experiences, that's really something that can help improve learning outcomes in the sessions as well. Awesome. Let's see. I'm waiting still if there are any. Okay. There is one question here. Is Miro integration easy? Yes, it is very easy. So we do have an integration with Miro as well, and then you can simply copy the Miro board link and add it to Menti, and you will be able to use that board directly within Menti. Oh, and then we have, can we please increase number of respondents for a free account? Unfortunately, I think that one is a no. Amazing. All right. Thank you, everyone, so much for these lovely questions and your engagement. We have one question here as well. One thing still not clear, how to analyze the results. Is there an Excel file available? Yes. So after a Menti session, you will have a results tab in your Menti, and then that's where you can also download the results as an Excel file. Great, but we are right on time. So thank you everyone so much for joining today's session. It has been lovely to have all of you interact so actively, ask so many questions. It's been really, really fun. And I hope to see you next time when we run our next session. Thank you so much and have a great rest of your day.